Hey guys. Hello, Eric, your coach here. All right. Awesome. I'm so glad you guys are here to watch this, to listen, because today we're going to talk about culture. And so I've called this one Create and Manage Culture. Office culture has been a theme, a topic of discussion for years and years and years. I mean, when I started in dentistry, 98, right about 2000, 2001, I started hearing all this about office culture and what can be done, what can't be done with it, and those sorts of things. And so it's always been something that has been moving through the business world. And I think sometimes we neglect it in dentistry. We decide, hey, it's not something for us. And so I want to say this: every office has a culture. It's either on accident or on purpose. And so you're either throwing a bunch of items into a bowl and making up the recipe and hoping people like the way it tastes, or you're following a specific recipe to create a delicious meal for people that keep coming back for it and keep coming back for it. And I would say Disney World is a perfect example of that. You have a system, and you've talked about training, a level of expectation that we live up to, and you need to meet that to work here to create an experience for the people who come through. I don't believe that a fantasy world is the only place that you create that type of culture. I think that that is an experience that can be created in any office setting, any business, and you need to be on purpose about it, and you need to manage it. And so today we're going to talk about how to create it, what it means, what it does. You might not get through all of this in one meeting. This could be a two meeting, maybe 2 hours for you to get through all of this, because there's going to be some pausing. I've included some really important attachments for you to read. I would love it if you guys would read um, it's a book summary of Culture Code, and I think that's a great book to read. And then I've given you a document that you're going to use to help create your own culture in your practice. So again, today we're talking about the people skills. I think culture is it's intangible, and it's something that you have to make tangible so that you can look at it, see it, and operate within it. And that's definitely in your people skills. So here's what we're going to cover. You know, you need to decide, what does culture mean? So right off the bat here, I would push the pause button, and I would have everybody in the room say what they believe culture means. What does that word office culture, that phrase, that word culture, what does that mean in your practice? What does that mean in general? And you're going to hear some intangible things that are opinion based, feeling based. And then once you guys all talk about it, I want you to come back and we'll continue with this. Okay, go for it. So if you did that, you probably heard things like, we're a community, we work together, we feel, that's how you feel when you're here, you're compassionate, those sorts of things. And you start to create an idea of what is culture. So we're going to talk about creating culture and how it's created, and if it's there by accident or not. We're going to talk about positive versus negative. We're going to talk about how to get out of negative. And then we're going to talk about how to maintain a positive culture through your team. All right, so let's jump in. So here's a definition. Workplace culture is an environment that you create for your employees. Okay, now you is a big term here, because I think in terms of a big corporation. And I think in dentistry, in a small practice, 10 or fewer people, it's us, that we create for us. It plays a powerful role in determining the work satisfaction, relationships, and progression. It is the mix of your organization's leadership, values, traditions, beliefs, interactions, behaviors, and attitudes that contribute to the emotional and relational environment at your workplace. These factors are generally unspoken, unwritten rules that help to form bonds between your colleagues. It's about how you communicate, how you operate together. It's about relationships. I think that's a key word. And it's how you organize all of that. And so it's really important for us to understand that the culture is what attracts great talent to your place of work. We want talent. We always, always choose talent over skill. We could train the skill, but talent and character and attitude and personality, those things are much more difficult. The intangibles are harder to train. So when you think in terms of dynasties, people who win, people want to go there because they're winning. Why are they winning? Because people want to go there. Well, which came first, is chicken or the egg? You look at the Spurs. This is, let's see, the season is 2020, and the Spurs did not make the playoffs today. The first time ended a 22-year playoff streak. People wanted to go there, love them or hate them, right? Or New England Patriots, people would take less money, players would take less money to go there. So it is really important for us to understand that you create an environment where people can excel. So to create a healthy group level, you have to first assemble talent. Now, that word talent doesn't necessarily just mean skill, right? You think, oh, I have all the talent in the world because I'm the best at doing this skill set. No, like the Spurs have a scouting sheet they use, and at the bottom it says, do they fit the Spur way? And if they could be the most talented person ever as far as skill goes and not fit, talent is in reference to attitude, personality, character. Talent isn't just skill set. We can train the skill. We can teach somebody to be a better shooter, right? Play better defense. But are they talented when it comes to the intangibles? Do they have a real positive attitude? Those are things that you can't train someone. You can't force someone to have a positive attitude. You can create the culture for them to get on board with that. You've heard people say, are you on the bus or not? Get on the bus or get off, right? So this is another reason that how this benefits you is because patients not only seek you out, but want to do business with you long term. They love coming to see you. Great cultures excel. So, I obviously manage social media for clients, and the clients that have the best following, the most interaction with their patients outside of the practice are the ones that have a phenomenal culture in their practice. They're fun loving. People love being there. They're not like, it's not a library. It's not just a disinfected clinic. It's not sterile. There's personality, there's experience, there's relationships. And so how do you create that relationship? So it's something that you want to create as a continual place for the team to improve. Okay. We want continuous improvement to get better and better at what we do. And so we've been talking a lot about this. Hopefully a lot of what we've done has gotten here. So DISC, 10, team, communication, crucial conversations. So all of these things, how you market, 12-month marketing plan, all of these things start to help you get clarity on what your culture is. You need to figure that out. Okay. So let's look at the 5 levels of culture here. So what I need to do is move this out of your way so you can see. There we go. All right. So this is my interpretation of how culture is built. First of all, the foundation. If you have a leader who doesn't lead, doesn't have a positive mindset, doesn't have positive core values, or what I call culture elements, you'll read that, culture elements, then you're not going to have a healthy culture. It's going to be accidental or negative. So you have to be on purpose as a leader to have a positive mindset, right? Where does that come from? It comes from my core values, what I believe. For me personally, I've shared this with you guys. I have to wake up and I say positive things about the day that's going to happen internally, my self-talk. And I'm excited and passionate about what I do. That creates my mindset, my core values. I was trained early on by Walter that, he says, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm happy. Then he would say, I get what I want because I deserve it. Then he would say, I'm a 10 and you're a 10. Then he would say, I'll never allow another human being to make me feel less about me. And it would go on and on and on. Okay. And so those core values or culture elements start to, they stick. The more you repeat them, the more they stick. So you have to make sure that your group understands what your core values are first. And I've given you a handout for that. And there's going to be a time for you to create those. So we're gonna focus on that. I have some favorite quotes that I adhere to. You know, if if you have integrity, nothing else matters. If you don't have integrity, nothing else matters. Um, you know, you I say hiring is guessing, firing is knowing. There's just sayings that stick with you, that resonate, that create your mindset, that help create your culture. All right, now two, communication. It's not just communication, it's effective communication. Some people don't have that word effective here. And I added that because you look at a family will have culture, not like tradition, but culture. It could be argumentative, it could be very abrasive. That's communication. But I think in terms of effective communication as a positive tool to clarify what your culture is, who you're going to be at all moments. And when that's not happening, can you go to that person and communicate with them and have interaction with them? We're going to talk about how to maintain culture in that regard. I've already said this, character over talent. I think that talent means skill, but you want to get the best talent on your team. When I talk about talent in that regard, that's character. And talented people, a talent is having character. It's having positive attitude. It's having integrity. It's having passion about what you do. That is a characteristic of someone. Talent, when we say over a talent, that is a skill set. So when I'm choosing someone, interviewing, yes, okay, you have the certification I need, you have the experience I need. Now, what's your character like? And you need to assemble the best talent on your team. That means the best character with the skill set, the basic foundation, that 15%. But the 85% is what we're talking about here. It's always over the skill. Okay. Once that's done, then you have to create an environment of safety. What I mean by that is not like OSHA or that sort of environment. What I'm talking about is safety to communicate, safety to contribute, safety to express yourself in a way that people go, that's a great idea. Why haven't you said that before? The perfect example is a new employee who comes in and they're quiet early on and they've had a lot of experience and they've got great talent, character, and personality, yet they're quiet and they don't necessarily express themselves right away. And then eventually they feel safe enough to contribute. You need to create that environment right away. Look, great cultures excel, their business booms. So if you're restricting it, if it's restricted, you could look back and say, maybe it's me, the leader, and we're all leaders. So where are you restricting the culture to be free to explode? Because lastly, accountability to that culture. If you're a naysayer or a negative person, then you're going to hold the brilliant performer down with a bad attitude. You need to excel in that. So when you look at bad character, there's a zero tolerance for that. Doesn't apply. And so if you look at accountability, you go, why is this person here if we have a zero tolerance for negativity and bad attitude and scaring team members off? We've said that before. The number one way to lose great team members is to keep one bad one. And so the accountability part is saying, hey, leader, back at the bottom, hold us accountable as a team. So let's jump into this. All right, so let's talk about creating culture. To me, simply put, it takes communication to create your culture, and it's continuous. It's effective, continuous communication. So your mindset has to be in the right place. This is I'm a 10, right? This is your passion, your internal passion for coming to work every day. If you don't want to be there, then you're in a negative zone. You're not in the right mindset. Therefore, you're out. Can you imagine if Mickey Mouse didn't want to be there, dressed up as Mickey Mouse, didn't want to be there? That wouldn't work, it's like bad Santa or something. So you have, if your environment is controlling you, then you're not going to have a good culture. So a busy day, and it's repeat, craziness. You're going to head towards burnout, and it's not going to happen the way you want because you're not in control. You're out of control. So systems become a part of the communication. Who are we being when we deliver our service, right? If there were no lines at Disney World and people were allowed just to go in and fight and move forward, it would be chaos. But they can take 70,000 people on a day and organize them in a way that works. You have to be super organized to do something like that. We see 30 to 40 patients a day. That's a much smaller scale, and it's one-on-one attention. There's no lines out the door. We have to be on purpose about it to make it effective. It should be easy. And then, of course, if you're not paying attention to what creates your culture, then it's going to be negative, and you're going to have either no culture or negative culture, and you're not aware of it, and it's messing with you. Okay. All right. So leadership, obviously, if you're not doing it, they're not going to do it. And then as team members, you have to have an ownership mentality. I've shared this with you before. What is ownership mentality? It's somebody who operates as though they own the business. Therefore, they operate at the highest standard, the highest level. Okay. Again, it's not necessary skill. It's that character. And then how's your team? How's your rapport with each other throughout the team? Not just rapport from leadership to an individual on a team, but individuals to individuals. How is that rapport? If there are people on your team that don't get along, there's your negative culture. That has to be fixed. Okay. We'll talk about how to do that. Create your culture through core values or culture elements. Okay. These should be things that you put up on the wall that you're proud of. It's not a mission statement. It's something that either comes out of a mission statement or helps you create a mission statement if you haven't created one. Here's an interesting fact. So they're Fortune 500 companies. What percentage of them have a mission statement? 100% of them. There is no company that makes it to the Fortune 500 list that doesn't happen to have a mission statement. I don't think that's an accident. When you're on purpose about getting somewhere and you have direction, you have more efficiency and effectiveness to get there. Achievement occurs. Here's another one. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. No, I want to be on a purposeful road. I definitely want to go in the right direction. So establish clear values and purpose with your team. Are they visible? Do you see them all the time? Okay. This is your moment to create your culture elements. This is your time to do this. So what you're going to do, this might be the rest of your meeting, and then you're going to come back and do the rest of it in a second part. That's fine. You can absolutely continue with this meeting if you don't want to push the pause button right now, and you can come back and create your culture elements later. That's fine too. You can do it either way. All right. But this is your moment to take that handout that you have and read through that and start to create your own culture elements. That will take a meeting to do. And I would say create at least 5 and probably no more than 10. Something that you want to put up on your wall. I have mine. Okay. It's something I see right when I walk in my office. Okay. I have mine back here. These are visual reminders. It doesn't take any words for me to know what those mean to me. Okay. So you create your own. All right. You create your own. All right. So if you want to do that now, push the pause button, do it. Otherwise, we're going to continue on. You can come back to create your culture elements. Up to you. All right. Maintaining a positive culture. Once you have it, how do you keep it? Well, it never goes away. It never disappears. Communication disappears. So you need to explain your core values clearly and often. Those are your culture elements that you just created or will create. Okay. So that's your purpose. Are you purposeful? What do those mean? Okay. You're going to constantly train and expect the best of your team. As soon as you stop training, culture drops. It's a fact. read it in The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle, right? Read that. He talks about training, all right? If you're not working on your team, you are losing ground, okay? It's just like neglect. Without intention, with no direction, you have a greater chance to enter into chaos. That's what we're trying to avoid. So training helps create that system, that control, that direction towards culture. This isn't really clinical training, but it can be. Okay, there's a product you're putting out. I get that. But it more often deals with team building, uh, being on the same page, camaraderie, focused on how you communicate with your patients and each other, your systems, so that chaos doesn't ensue. One tooth, you can learn how to treat that. And that's good. That creates a product, something that you're producing. And I think that's a reflection of who you are. But who are they seeing constantly? Again, one of my sayings, one of my culture elements is when you have a patient who a new patient doesn't know how well of a dentist you are, right? Has no idea, then every interaction they have with you starts to paint a picture in their mind of how good of a dentist you are. So here it is. You want to create a perception in their mind that creates confidence in your competence. Okay? Create confidence in your competence. That's a culture element, right? Right. Have team meetings so that you're trained at the highest levels. We've been talking about Disney World all the time. You have to have meeting time. You have to talk about what works and doesn't work. You have to have systems. And it might seem like, hey, we talk about it being ideal in this room, but when we go out there, it doesn't ever hit ideal. That's okay. If you don't talk about what's ideal, it's going to be chaos out there. All right. When it doesn't happen ideal out there, you bring it back to the meeting and you celebrate your mistakes through a safe environment. Nobody's perfect. Raise your hand if you've never made a mistake. Nobody should be raising their hand except for me. Just kidding. So we know that we're going to make mistakes. So that means we need to celebrate them. What mistake did you make? What did you learn from it? How do we make sure nobody else makes this same mistake in the future? Every time you change a team member, the chances of you going back to that again greatly increase, right? You're going to start over again. When someone makes a mistake and they're made to be felt like an outsider, that's a problem. When somebody on a basketball court misses the game-winning shot and they put their head down, and you see their team member come over and go, hey, man, we'll get them next time. High five, whatever it is. I saw this point guard and this big, tall center, and he must have made a mistake, and he's walking down the court like this, and the little point guard comes up and pushes his head up and puts his chin back up. That's creating safety and belonging. We're going to make mistakes. Okay? All right. Vulnerability over time creates trust. Now, over time is the key part here. All right? So, vulnerability, think about this, vulnerability. What does that mean? I am open to showing you my struggles, my successes, my mistakes, my challenges, okay? And over time, when people are vulnerable with each other, it creates a feeling of trust where they will then and also feel safe to share. But if you're stoned all the time and there's just stone face, you're cold, there's no way that you're going to create a team of celebrating mistakes and creating vulnerability to improve. Everybody's perfect. That doesn't exist. Ask for help from your team. If you don't know what your mistakes are, you're sitting there going, well, I don't know what mistakes I'm making. You need to find out. So I would say to my team, I'd say, Rebecca, the receptionist, I'd say, Rebecca, I need your help. I totally freedom to speak here and be direct with me and clear. I'm trying to figure out where I'm struggling and so that I can improve. And I need accountability in that. And so I'm asking for your help. I'm asking for your coaching. Where do you see me as having the greatest challenges in my day? I want to work on those things. And then it should be mutual. You should go back and forth on that. Okay. I don't like this one, but it becomes necessary. And unfortunately, it happens more often than not. Well, I wouldn't say more often than not. I'd say it's more frequent than you would think, where You hire someone, they get past that 90-day period, and all of a sudden true colors start coming through. And I'll have an office call me and they'll say, I hired this person, 4 months ago, and there's been a shift. And we'll talk about a crucial conversation, that come to Jesus meeting, and we'll sit down and they'll go, oh, and they'll get back in alignment with the culture. And about 5 or 6 months will go by and it'll rear its ugly head again. And that'll happen about 2 or 3 times. And the doctor will finally say, it's time to let him go. And they'll have seen good team members leave in response to this one bad apple. And so sometimes letting someone go, it says firing here. Look, I think we're in a relationship together. And sometimes the relationship wasn't meant to be. And we change over time, or personalities change. But typically there's good fits and there's bad fits. It's a puzzle piece. And you can't just pound that puzzle piece to force it to fit sometimes. And so I've said it already. Hiring is guessing, firing is knowing. If you know someone's a bad fit, then just talk together and say, you know what, this isn't working out. It's not about if you're good enough or not. It's not about who you are. It's just not a good fit. And so you come with an agreement and say, I'm going to give you 2 weeks to find something and 3 weeks, and then we both know where we're going. It's like giving notice. You can do it that way, or you can give someone, a severance check. Here you go. My wife, and I say this, you guys are gonna laugh. She makes me watch Bachelor. She wouldn't say that's the case. She'd say I like to watch it. I love the psychology of it. And this is gonna sound really mean. When the person who is rejected gets in the limo, they keep a really good face through the whole thing sometimes, and they get in the limo and they just break down. And the rejection almost just emotionally kills them. Right? There's so much emotion in that. And I'm thinking to myself, you met this other person 2 weeks ago. It's not them. It's the idea of what the relationship has that you're looking for, the possibilities, what's in between them. And when one person doesn't see that being able to happen, they're being real. The person who's living in a fantasy, hoping that it shows up, is living in the fantasy. And when that fantasy crumbles, they break down. And I'm not saying I would be perfect if I got in a limo and I had that rejection. People don't like that rejection, but I would say, obviously it wasn't a good fit. I need to find the right fit. I think that's the same thing with teams. If it's not the right fit, it's just not the right fit. Talk about it. It's okay to talk about it. Don't create bad blood. Don't sabotage. That's a problem. That happens. That's a firing, right? Okay. So maintain a positive culture, communication. All right. We're getting into this already. We're talking about firing, ending negative culture. If it's never been there because you've neglected it, it's missing. Okay. So if your culture has never been discussed, then it is a negative culture. Some of you are very lucky that organically your personality and leadership style has created a positive culture with some negative sprinklings over here that you just need to fix. Okay. And you just need to end the negative aspects of it and fix that and deal with it. All right. I talked about this earlier, get on the bus or we'll find a better place for them. There's no bad seeds, but there's just bad fits. The statistic says that when there's a bad fit, your productivity can be affected by 30 to 40%. That's huge. You get the right team, all of a sudden, new patients start coming in, new customers are coming in. They're calling you. Why? Because there was this one person that was creating an element. I was working with an office and we couldn't get any good applicants to apply for the job. Why? Because they knew there was one person in that office that was negative. And sometimes it's the doctor. And that doctor has to change. Why can't you attract good team members? Look in the mirror first and then look at the team. Okay? All right. When things are going wrong, who jumps in? Do you point the finger and become negative, or are you able to celebrate mistakes? The example that I read was there was a business owner, very successful restaurant, and he's sitting there doing the interview on culture, and someone in the background, one of the employees, drops a whole tray of glasses and shatters everything, right? He doesn't move. He doesn't flinch. He just sits there and listens. He's still looking at the interviewer, and this is all happening in the background. And he stops the conversation, and the interviewer says, what's going on? And he says, I want to see how my team rallies around this person. This will tell me what my culture's like. So when you make a huge mistake, do people come over and start helping? Say, hey, that's okay. You missed the shot. Lift your chin up, right? Do they help clean it up? Or do they just go, wow, nice job, man. You suck. And keep moving. That's not healthy. So your positive culture, when someone drops the cake on the floor, does everybody look around and go, hey, grab some, let's just make the best of it and eat it, and fix what did you trip over, or are they laughing at you, pointing fingers at you, talking behind your back? Who jumps in? When people don't jump in, that tells you about their character. And if we're collecting great talent and character, that will tell you something. You need to listen to each other, and one-on-one is important. So set up one-on-one meetings. If you have a negative culture, set up one-on-one meetings. I'll talk about this later with forgiveness. All right. Is your team connected? Do you have your disc figured out? Do you know what your disc is? And are you doing team outings at least once every 3 months? A quarterly team outing, a day at the lake. It could be miniature golf. You go bowling. You just go out to dinner. Okay. Is it mandatory? Yes. Do you get paid to do it? No. But you have to have outside events that you do. And sometimes you decide that there's family involved. And once a year it's taken care of. That's a Christmas party. But otherwise, once a quarter, you got to have team building to maintain connection. When there's no connection outside of the office and it becomes one-sided, you start to see that negative culture show up. People don't get along as well. They don't know each other as well. Wow, you're really a lot of fun. Do people say that about you? Do you say that about other people on your team? Do you enjoy being around other people on your team, or is it just a working relationship? That creates a losing culture. All right, ask your team for private culture analysis. So this is a SWOT. So here's what happens. You survey your team on some basic things. You do SWOT. Look at the positive, the strengths. What excites you? Okay, what's positive about us? What do we enjoy about us? What frustrates you? Okay, what's the negatives? What's frustrating you? You could do this. And then the O, opportunities. What do you see that could happen that you'd be most proud of, that you'd say, oh, this sounds silly. I would love to work at Disney World. I think that'd be amazing. I don't know what my position would be, but I'd love to work at Disney World. I think it looks very attractive to me to do that. What I need to understand is I probably have a better fit in making a Disney World in a dental office because I understand it better, right? So ideally, I want to take what I see as attractive and put it in here, not just go over there. How do I make it a part of this? And then T, what's been standing in your way? What are the real challenges, the threats, the T, right? What's been in the way? And talk about those things. You can do this anonymously and fill it out and turn it in. You could do it one-on-one where you meet with people, or you could do it as a team and talk about it. If you really have the safety to speak freely, then you could do that. All right. I've already said this. I love being here. I have a good time when I'm here. Happiness leads to success, not the other way around. You don't just got to push through. I just got to make enough money, and then I'm going to be happy. It doesn't work that way. You got to be happy no matter what you have or what you don't have. And, at the end of the day, a lot of the times you see very rich people who aren't happy. You see that. And then you go look at someone who's living on a dirt floor somewhere, and they're super happy. So success isn't going to make you happy. You need to make yourself happy, and then your team needs to be happy, and then success is going to come. Again, the best reviews, the best interaction on social media, the more referrals I see in offices. I have an office, they don't ask for one referral. The doctor refuses to ask for referrals. They get 40 new patients a month right now. Okay. 100% of them are from referrals. From day one, he's never asked for a referral. That's interesting. And I look at that office and say, what's different about them? And it's the happiness level. They're having fun there. They're enjoying being around each other, and they bring the patient into that. They involve the patient in the fun they're having. It can't be a sterile library, guys. All right. Identify tensions. So in the negative culture, you've got to identify any tensions. Here's another culture element I live by. Suzanne taught me this. And the best communicators speak the unspoken. And I thought about that when I heard it. I was like, what do you mean, Suzanne? The best communicators speak the unspoken. They know there's something wrong, right? But everybody's avoiding it. They're walking on eggshells and they're avoiding it. And so if it's there, you have to address it. Okay. And then if you're the guilty party, right, if you got to ask for forgiveness. And we're going to talk about forgiveness. I think it's huge, part of fixing the culture. All right. So creating a blank slate or forgiveness. This is the number one tool. I did it on my social media. I did it on Instagram and Facebook. I did a post on forgiveness. And I just think that your willingness to create a blank slate, if there's issues in your culture and your relationship, there's that unspoken challenge, right? There's tension. Then if you're willing to start over, if you're passionate about this team, you care about this team and you want to work here, then you're willing to get to a forgiveness place. Now, you might be the one that needs to be forgiven. You might be the one that needs to ask for forgiveness. Okay. I forgive you. It doesn't work, right? Hey, I just want you to know I was offended. Whoa, I'm so sorry. Tell me, what did I do? Right? I automatically say sorry, but let me say this. I think there are 3 levels here. Let's play this out. The level of the offense, right? 1 cup, 2 cups, a gallon. Okay. The level of the offense needs to have the same level of apology associated to it, right? I can't create a 1 gallon offense and then apologize at a 1 cup level. Okay. I got to have it equal. And then if I'm the person forgiving this offender, then I need to give forgiveness at the same level of that. I can't just go, I forgive you, and then hold on to it. It doesn't work that way. So big offenses, typically people are crying and hugging, right? Okay. Small offenses, oh, hey, listen, that's not a problem. Please, no, I don't hold anything against you. I appreciate it though. There's a difference. And so you start by acknowledging the unspoken. Okay. You need to model this as the leader. You need to ask, hey, we have a common goal here. That's for all of us to get along. Here's our culture and our values. And I know that nobody's perfect and we don't expect it. And so what I want to do is have a conversation with you. So on the other side of the conversation, we're healthy and happy, we're getting along, and everybody is appreciative of what we're doing. And so that's a permission statement, introduction and permission statement, part of crucial conversations, right? You can encourage one-on-one meetings, but if there is severe offense, then I would have a mediator in there. I would have a third party in that meeting. I sat with a team in Texas one time, and what we realized was it was a team building meeting. That's what I did. We did DISC, we did Strength Finder, we talked about culture, and we realized is there were some real grudges being held. And it was bad relationship. There was bad mojo going on. So we broke up into pairs, and they had one-on-one time in different areas of the room, and they went through crucial conversations and said, I'm assuming that I've done something to offend you, and I don't want that offense in between us. I would love it if you'd share with me what I've done to offend you. And then the other person was free to speak. This person was not allowed to talk. Well, you take my parking spot every day, and it hurts my feelings, whatever it is, right? And they worked through it. Obviously, it was more severe than that. So if you're in that place, or you ever get in that place, in order to get to a blank slate, you have to be willing to communicate. Culture, anytime you talk about something with culture, it revolves around communicating. And here, it's a one-on-one conversation, not a text message, not an email. It's got to have tone of voice. It's got to have nonverbal communication, eye contact, looking right at the other person, and a sincerity to it. Have I done something? Oh my gosh, I knew it. I knew there was something there, and I just want you to know I had no idea I was even doing that. Will you forgive me? And then that person has to be willing to let it go at that same level. If you want to believe that forgiveness works, then you've got to practice it, right? If you ever, and let's say this, if you're looking at everybody else going, problem, 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 you need to understand you've either done it yourself or you will do the same thing. You will be a problem at some point. Okay. And you got to be willing to repeat this whenever it's necessary. And some offices more regular than others. Some very rarely have to do this. I know offices that go do a team retreat. They go a weekend away, and part of their weekend away is to do this. We had a cabin that we would rent here and go and get out away from everything and do our annual planning, and we would get it on the blank slate. And everybody deserves a second chance. I don't know how many second chances some people are that you want to give them. How many times can you do that? I think at some point the puzzle piece doesn't fit. If it's the same person over and over again with the same thing, that I think that's a part of moving away from that person and having them find a better fit. But I do think people deserve a second chance. So will you do it? All right. Maintaining that culture. Again, communication. So you're going to continuously revisit your core values and speak the unspoken tension. You're going to celebrate your victories, all right? And your mistakes, right? But you've got to have an environment where you're laughing, encouraging, and positive, enjoying each other. That creates the passion, all right? 212, there's a video called 212. You could YouTube that, 212 degrees. And in there it talks a lot about, it's probably a 3-minute video, and it's really good. It's powerful in creating passion and belief in something and encouraging and attitude. And you can watch that as a sub topic here. It's not about culture, but you can see how it connects into culture. All too often we hit a goal. Oh, we hit a monthly goal. All right, it's time to go on the next monthly goal. And there's no time to celebrate. And I'm not saying it has to be bonus. We are going to talk about that in our next meeting. But it would be nice to have some sort of celebration, lunch in, something that says we did it. That's really important. Okay. All right. Get others to lead. It's not about creating culture is not about one person. You have to have everyone involved. So create leadership. You notice every time I do one of these meetings in the action plan, right? There's action and there's leaders assigned to that action. If people are not talking during the meeting, then you need to ask them for their input. Force them to open up. I promise you there's great information in there. Once people are feeling safe to open up, that's where you get real contribution as a whole team. It's not just 1 or 2 or 3 people making all the decisions or arguing or trying to figure it out when there's 3 or 4 people totally quiet. It's got to be everybody. I know I've said this is another culture element. People want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. We talk about that when we ask for referrals from our existing patients. And so let them in. That could be your quiet team members. That could also be your patients when it comes to asking for referrals or, letting them be a part of something you do every day that's fun. Okay. You have to have accountability. Once you establish your culture and you don't maintain it through accountability, then it's chaos again. And how you create accountability is communication, having things on the wall that you live by, meeting one-on-one with people. Have 5-minute burst meetings where you sit down with someone and you go, all right, let's talk about it. So here's on vulnerability, right? Accountability, vulnerability, right? We sit down with them and you figure out, okay, what's challenging you right now, right? What's challenging you? What are you sensing? You do this with your kids sometimes, right? You sit down with them, you go, I know something's off. What's going on here? That's accountability. You get them back and refocus on what the culture is, all right? Get feedback. All right. Attractiveness. So maintaining culture has to do with attractiveness. So I think team members first will be attracted to it over time. They hear good things about your office in your town. People love to work there. People don't leave. I got an office in San Jose. I've worked with them for now 17 years. They're not stupid. They're really good at what they do. One of the reasons I work with them so long is because they're constantly in training. They want to be at the top of their game and they don't want anything to fall apart. In that 17 years, they've had an assistant change and an administrator change. Yeah, that's it. Out of a team of 8 or 7. So yeah, 7. So you can have a place where people don't want to leave. They want to be a part of. And it's not just about the money. It's about loving the environment, the culture. All right. And then I think patients are going to notice that and want to be a part of it too and don't want to leave. They're there long term. The only people who leave your practice are the ones that move, physically away, right? They die. Um, or I don't think those people stop wanting to go to the dentist because they want to be around you. So do people like being around you, or are you, honestly, this is going to sound harsh, are you boring? And if you're boring and people don't want to be around you, then that's the results you're going to get. Okay. So how do you track your culture in this accountability stage? All right. So you sit down and you ask these questions. Do you feel like we're winning? Okay. Do you lose good team members? Maybe there's that one source that's causing you to lose good team members and they're not moving away. They're just switching offices. Are you continuously having to have tough conversations with people? That's maybe one person over and over and over again. That's a sign. Okay. Are your new patients referred numbers really low? Are you really trying to get a lot of referral? Maybe you're not trying and they're low. That's different. But if you're trying to get new patients referred and the numbers are low, that's a reflection of your culture. Okay. And, if you're not very efficient and effective, like your production just isn't there, people aren't moving through with the dentistry, you're not hitting your goals, and therefore you're not a high performing group, that creates negativity, lack of growth, right? It's a chicken or the egg situation, but you got to get that happiness and attitude and character and talent right so that the high performance shows up. Okay. And then lastly, coaching each other. It's not judgment. It's not criticism. It's, hey, I heard you say a limiting term and I want to work with you on it. Is that okay? The word is cancellation. I'm sure I say it too, but I want to point it out to you so you're cognizant of it so that if you say it, you catch yourself. Sound good? It's that easy. You can do that. All right. Here are 5 questions that you guys can ask to make sense of this. Remember, I was swatting it, right? What makes you proud to work at this company, right? How does the organization support your professional development and growth? Again, if you're getting negative responses here, not a good thing. You should be getting positive responses, but be honest. Is risk-taking encouraged? What happens when people fail? Are you guys able to celebrate mistakes when you're trying to grow in new ways? What role do company values play in hiring and performance reviews? Okay, this is an interesting question. What role do the company values, right? Those would be culture elements or core values, play in hiring and performance reviews? So do you just have the skills to do it? I know how to clean teeth. Or do you have the attitude that matches the culture we're looking for? Does the company evaluate that? Are they paying attention to it? Because if you're not paying attention to those things when you're hiring or doing performance reviews, probably the wrong people are going to be hired and given raises. Wow, you just produce a lot. I always use Virginia or Jenny for the hygienist, right? So you produce a lot. That's awesome. But she's got a bad attitude. People don't like working with her. We're going to give you a raise. It shouldn't work that way. That's bad culture, bad mojo. And then what's the one thing you would change about the company if you could? So I would decide, do you want to do this anonymously and have everybody turn it into doctor leadership? Do you want to sit around and talk about it? Maybe you do it anonymously, and then somebody sits around and talks about it, and without naming names, you talk about it that way. This is a huge way to track your culture and create some accountability to moving in the right direction. And this is like ripping off the Band-Aid for some people sometimes. It takes a painful event, and you got to force to get there. You got to rock the boat to get there. You can't just allow it to continue to fester. All right. What I need you guys to do now is have an action plan with leadership involved. So maybe 2 people that are your culture leaders, people who create that accountability. If it's not there, they help you create it, your core elements, your culture elements, your core values. Those people need to make sure that we're doing this and that we have visuals and that we stay accountable to it and we have the tough conversations if need be. Now, I'm here to talk to you about it. I'm here to mediate if you want. And especially if you guys are going to lead through forgiveness, getting the clean slate, I think that's important to have mediation. It could be someone on your team or me. All right. Now, here's our outline. Do you have a culture created on purpose or an accident? Do you know how to create a positive culture? And what is creating your negative culture and how do you end it? Could be a person, could be an attitude, could be different people with bad attitudes. How do you direct them to the positive? And then if it's that negative, how do you create a blank slate of forgiveness? And then accountability through maintaining your culture. Awesome. All right. So again, you're probably going to need at least one more meeting on this, and then it never ends. It's continuous after that. Okay. Next meeting, we're going to talk about, all right, so culture, the intangibles done. Now, how do you turn that into numbers? What do the results look like? And I'll work with high D doctors, and their results are going to say, I just want to create $1 million practice. I just want to create a $2 million practice. Well, if you don't do the culture, you're never going to get the numbers you're looking for. So we're going to look at numbers. We're going to talk about what they mean. We're going to talk about how to compare apples to apples, $2 million practice versus a $800,000 practice. The $800,000 can be more profitable than the $2 million one. We can compare that. I can show you how to compare that. And then, puppet strings. The puppets are down here. What do you do up here to change the numbers, right? The puppets are the numbers. How do you change that? And then talk about a good reward system. So what types of bonuses work, how long you should be in a bonus system. And, sometimes there's what we call easy bonuses, and sometimes there's more the bigger bonus. And we'll talk about all those different types of systems that we can put in place to reward you guys. And it's not an expectation. It won't be there forever, but it is something that you can do if the numbers match up correctly. All right. Awesome. Great job, you guys. Thank you so much, and have a great meeting and great rest of your day.